Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another podcast and video from Fantasy Football Scout. Welcome back to Burning Questions. It is the final one of the season, although unlike some others, we are still trying to plan on doing one next week once the season is all over. Tom, welcome. How are we doing?
Very good, thank you. It's finally here, the final week of the season. Looking forward to it. A few punts, maybe. Captain quite open as well, so it should be good. Good chat.
Yeah.
Although we're both thinking about the top five, I think.
Yeah, both of us are focusing on Chelsea, it feels like. But yes, in this stream, we'll be focusing on Gameweek 38. It's always a fun one, but it doesn't feel like there's as many big fixtures this year as maybe there have been in previous years. I don't know. I feel like there's a specific couple that we'll look to target, but in previous years, there's been loads, and I don't necessarily feel like I feel the same way. But before we get in and talk about our teams, I think the first thing we need to discuss is the breaking William Saliba news. Just before we go live, Connor on Twitter has tweeted that apparently William Saliba is set to miss the trip to Southampton due to a hamstring injury and will return in a few weeks, presumably return when they go to pre-season, because I don't think they're in the Club World Cup. So basically, Saliba looks like he's out, and Timber underwent ankle surgery yesterday and will be out for a few weeks as well. So Saliba looks like he's out. Of course, we have an Arteta press conference on Friday, so of course, wait until we get that fully confirmed by Arteta. Tom, you own Saliba?
Yeah, this is probably good confirmation because I was looking to sell him before this news because I didn't think he'd play, so it's good. The decision will be whether people play Munoz, I think.
Or make a transfer.
Yeah, because I don't think it's awful to play Munoz. Like we saw against Man City, he'd popped up almost with a goal and then an assist. It's definitely capable. So those -4s could be wiped out pretty quickly if he gets a shot in the box.
Yeah, but hits for defenders doesn't feel great, right?
Well, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Taking a hit all he needs is a shot in the box, which we know he loves.
Yeah.
Just going back to 38, where do you think the goals are? You said there's not many like massive fixtures. I guess Brighton, Spurs.
Yeah, we'll have a look at all of the fixtures in a moment. Let's do a review of our teams very briefly.
Yeah,
so I'll put your score and my score up at the same time, actually. So you want to go first? You've got 54 points.
Yeah, I moved up, I think, 8 spaces in the world. So,
is that how far you went?
Yeah, I moved up. I'm exactly 120,000, 120,000, 120 and 600,000.
As if.
I've butchered that, and last week I was 608. So 8 spaces is pretty irrelevant. Top 100k is 12 points away. It was a game week of probably what could have been. I mean, Mbeumo missing the penalty as captain, that would have been 20 points if he'd scored that.
Yeah, that's rough.
But on the flip side, Salah and De Bruyne both missed open goals who could have, sent me down miles. So ultimately, a few weeks ago, I sold Isak and Salah as a risk. They haven't scored any points, which is great, but Palmer and Haaland have also scored no points. So I'm ultimately down on those hits. Bowen still is good, obviously, and Visser pretty good as well. And Raya, it was nice to play Raya, although he made 5 saves in 20 minutes.
Honestly,
didn't
how he got... If you'd have told me after 20 minutes that he would come away with only 7 points, I'd wonder how on earth it happened.
Yeah, I saw his pass completion rate was about 40%, so he was
yeah, because he kicked it. The only reason he made 5 saves is because he kicked it to them about 6 times.
Yeah. Yeah, it was frustrating, and Haaland, it's a shame he hasn't scored for a few weeks now.
To back against Salah and Isak and get it right, but then not get anything in return is tough.
Yeah, and it's not like Saka has done it. It's like there's no premium assets have done anything.
Yeah, basically the solution was sell Salah and Isak and put 15 million in the bank and just buy 2 really cheap players, and you would have got more points.
Yeah, Eze and Watkins. Yeah.
Don't talk to me about that Eze goal.
Sorry, assist. You hating on Sarr again? The man's consistent.
Yeah, but Sarr starts, right? De Bruyne starts, right? And Eze's on the bench. And I'm thinking, right, here we go. Eze still outscores them both. And he plays 10 minutes of football.
I was thinking, I know it didn't happen, but I was thinking like this has got 0-0 half time, Sarr off Eze.
I thought
Eze
he'd go off
gets
at
all the
half
points.
time, to be honest. I was lucky he made 60. Yeah. As soon as I saw that Palace notification saying 4-2, I was like, just knew it was Eze. I just knew it. I could just feel it. I was like, that's definitely Eze. But 63 for me. I suppose the big difference between our scores basically is the Ezri Konsa goal. Ollie Watkins flicked down for an Ezri Konsa goal. I might look back on that at the end of the season as one of the best goals of my FPL season. It's been a long time since I've had a defender 15-pointer. I almost had a second one on my bench with Milenkovic getting 8, Williams getting 4, both on my bench. Evan Nilsson with 2. But yeah, pretty happy with it. Wissa coming in with a 10. Like, he's just a great option. And I'm really happy owning both of them for game week 38 because they both need 1 goal to get 20 goals. And I think that's only happened once before, and it was Salah and Mane in the year I think they won the league. So if Brentford can get it with Mbeumo and Wissa, I think they'll be going all out to try and get them both a goal in game week 38. So I'm pretty happy with that. De Bruyne, incredibly disappointing how he came away with that. And then Kovacic getting sent off, which means he goes off the pitch. Yeah, fantastic. And then, the rest of it, not much to really talk about. Sarr 5, but I'm so fed up with this guy. 4 goals, and he still gets outscored by Eze.
Well, you don't have to play him this week, do you?
No.
I'm assuming.
He's rooted to my bench, don't you worry. He's not going
and
anywhere near it.
Started.
Areola did
Quick
start.
shout out Fabianski. Did you see Fabianski said he wasn't impressed?
Yeah, he
did an interview. It's fair enough.
I mean, I tweeted before when the lineup came out. I said, really surprised that they can't give Fabianski a start. And this West Ham fan replied, well, that's because we picked the goalkeeper who's better with the ball at his feet, and we need that for build-up play in our final home game. And then about 5 minutes later, Areola just kicked it straight at Gibbs White. To be fair, the guy on Twitter was very good about it. He replied to it straight away, being like, well, I look like an idiot. It was quite funny.
Do you think he'll play this week?
No.
I mean, I don't think he would want. He probably would want to, but it's a bit weird to give him this game and then.
Yeah, I think he probably doesn't, and I just think it's not a great look for West Ham. But
no, Graham Potter is seems nice on the surface, but he is quite he can get brushed up the wrong way quite easy, I think. Chelsea, that's what I found anyway.
Yeah. Cool. So let's go and have a look at the fixtures to start with. Actually, let's look at the Rob T data. We'll use this version of it. So final 10 game weeks of the season. I know what you mean. Like, there are some games which are good, and there are probably enough games which are good if we only got 1 or 2 transfers. But there's not a large combination of teams with a good fixture and with something to play for. Now, maybe you don't need that. There is this big narrative that if a team doesn't have anything to play for, they rotate and people don't care and players don't try. But you also have the added narrative that if a team doesn't have anything to play for and they're playing a weak team, there's no pressure, right? They don't need to. If they get to 60 minutes and they're 2-0 up, they don't care whether they go and score 3-4 and concede a goal, really. They have that higher ceiling, I would suppose, for a team who's got nothing to play for.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, no one's buying Palmer this week because we have something to play for. For example,
I think there's other reasons people are not buying Palmer this week. No one's buying Haaland this week for the same reason, I think.
Yeah, having said that, I don't think that's the worst thing to buy Haaland, but
no.
But yeah, I mean, if you're looking at the fixtures, projected goals as top as Liverpool is probably fair enough, although they have lost 2 of the last 3. Last week when I was writing some content for the website, they'd conceded the most XG in the last 2 games after winning the league. To us,
yeah, I mean, they haven't won since they've won the league, so you would. Part of me thinks that they'll want to win this game. I think there'll be goals in that Liverpool Palace game.
Yeah, I can see that. Do you think, just on Liverpool then, do you think Trent will get minutes? Do you think I should play Conor Bradley?
I think Trent's really difficult because I think Trent is one of the best differentials for the game week if we know he starts.
Yeah.
If
He
you
didn't even come on against Brighton.
No, and he looks so sad. Do you see that like clip of him like looking at the fans at the end of the game? Yikes. I think probably he starts. I still think he probably does, but I'm much less confident than I was.
Yeah, fair enough. And then outside Liverpool, Bournemouth and Newcastle next up. I think Bournemouth. If you've got one free transfer, I think Bournemouth is the obvious route. I'd imagine.
Yeah.
Um, Newcastle. Do you think? I mean, you were saying before you're convinced that Isak will start, but
Yeah,
do you think there'll be goals, or do you think that'll be quite cagey?
I mean, Everton are without Tarkowski and Branthwaite. So
Yeah, that's quite big, isn't it?
I think
Keane and
particularly,
O'Brien.
particularly airily, I think they'll be weak, right? So if you've got a Burn, you've got a Fabian Schär, I think they're quite nice picks this week, or anyone like that. I think they'll win comfortably.
Spoiler alert. You want Shah.
Yeah, I do. I am considering a Fabian Schär transfer. I think they'll win it pretty comfortably. So I think they'll be. I think like I wouldn't be surprised if they won that 3-0, 2-3-0, and then they just see it out because it is a game that means something. Like if they're 2-0 up, they're not going to go crazy trying to press for a third goal. That's the difference. Whereas if Arsenal are 2-0 up, they don't care if they concede, really. I suppose it's slightly different because Arsenal will have a focus on the Golden Glove. They will know that David Raya keeping a clean sheet will get him the Golden Glove. So they have that in there as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember a few years ago when Nick Pope was wanting the Golden Glove, I tripled up on Burnley defence and then Basuma hammered one in from 30 yards.
The Marmoush goal last night.
It doesn't always work.
We didn't mention.
That was good, wasn't it?
I think we had might have goal of the season and miss of the season in one game.
Yeah. Yeah, and he put it on a plate for De Bruyne as well, so
yeah,
that would have been a double threat to us, or to me.
I've got De Bruyne, but yeah. Yeah, so it does feel like Liverpool, Bournemouth, Newcastle, Arsenal are the ones to target. Brighton. But it's away.
That game could be 4-4, do you not think?
Yeah, it could. Yeah, it could.
I think that's the most realistic chance of a crazy game.
The issue with Brighton is I think it's difficult to predict who starts that game. Because people have said to me, you should be recommending Matoma. He hasn't started in about 5 games, but he has scored off the bench.
He scored off the bench 3 times.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you can't buy because of that. But
you can't buy a player hoping they score off the bench, though. So, and, João Pedro had a falling out in training with Van Heck, which is why he wasn't in the squad. So, you can't buy that. But
I think you can buy Welbeck. I can't. Because João Pedro would just slot in as a 10, if anything.
Are you really using your last transfer of the season to buy Danny Welbeck?
No, probably not.
Like, this is what I mean. I like the Brighton fixture. And if you're on a free hit, maybe you pump one of them. But I don't know. For me, if you're using a transfer, it's for one of the top 4 teams on the predicted goals.
What if Brennan Johnson was benched tonight?
I'm definitely not using it on a Spurs player.
Neither would I, but I quite like a Spurs attacker that's benched tonight.
The other benefit to those 4 teams at the top are also the 4 teams, if you look at the graphic in the top right, that have the highest chance of winning. So 4 teams have an over 70% chance of winning. Bournemouth, Liverpool, Newcastle, Arsenal. Like Brighton are only 48%. So yeah, we are expecting goals in that game, but like it's still not the easiest game to call. Whereas you do have 4 games which feel like bankers, and 3 of them are at home. So it does feel like Bournemouth, Liverpool, Newcastle, Arsenal. If you've got transfers, I suppose the other one, to be fair, is Jared Bowen.
Yeah, he's probably the best midfielder to buy this week because Bournemouth midfielders are quite risky.
Yeah.
Clivert going off. Liverpool, alongside Salah, I think anybody could start. Although you'd think Diaz would come back in probably.
Yeah, so I think there are specific differentials outside of it. Like I don't mind Diaz.
I mean, would you buy Bowen over like Gordon or Barnes?
Yeah. I would, yeah. I like Gordon again as a differential, but
I think Bowen's probably the best midfielder to buy. Like if you're sitting there with Sarr or Eze with money, I think Bowen is a no-brainer.
If you have the money for Bowen or Saka,
I'd go for Bowen, I think. I think it's a bit uncertain about Saka. Do you not think?
Yeah, I suppose we have had Arsenal news before the deadline before. And let's say if we don't know, then 100% you go Bowen, right?
Yeah.
If you got told that Saka did start.
If I knew Saka was starting, I would probably go for Saka
I think that's probably
because
fair.
it wouldn't shock me if West Ham just didn't turn up.
Mm.
Yeah, another game to mention: Wolves and Brentford. I think that could be 3-3.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
can't.
Brentford have to win to have any chance of Europe because they could still finish eighth. And I think it's worth noting that. Sorry, what was I going to say? Yeah, as long as they have a 1% chance of getting Europe, you don't want to be that team who plays kids and then realize if you'd have won the game, you would have got European football. Like, they're 3 points behind Brighton, and it requires for Chelsea to win the
To mark
Conference
up,
League.
yeah.
Yeah, and not finish in the top 5. But they don't want to be sat there on Monday or Wednesday after the Conference League final thinking, oh, we rotated, and if we hadn't have rotated, we'd be in the Conference League for the first time. Like, they don't want to be in that situation. So I do think
I
Brentford
can't see them rotating. Like they
well,
have such a
and Burma
settled team, and
and Burma and Wissa are
he said
definitely
that
playing.
Thiago won't start this season. I'm pretty sure.
And then Burma and Wissa need 1 goal each for
Yeah.
20 goals. So yeah, I don't mind
It's
Wissa.
crazy.
I actually think there's not that many forwards to buy this week. I think Evan Nilsson is so obvious because there's no one else.
I think Visser's probably second.
Yeah, I agree. Just by the nature of him being a good asset all season.
Yeah, he's just unbelievable. Like how, like you look at us, like we haven't had a striker score 19 goals in the Premier League
Since Costa.
Yeah, and
he was quite
like, you just look
striker,
at Visser, it's ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah.
But anyway,
from a defensive point of view, it's the same 4, but Liverpool drops quite a lot. I expect both teams to score in that game. So I would, and particularly because the likes of Eze and Mateta didn't start last night, I thought we'd see a lot of changes for Palace in that game, but I probably expect, Eze and Mateta to come back in for 38. So again, Newcastle, Bournemouth, Arsenal are probably the 3 that you'd have a look at. Newcastle, Bournemouth, Arsenal, if you're looking for a defender, and the attack is a little bit more spread, I would say.
yeah, my top defensive target this week is Kirkez, I think.
Yes.
So that's who I would buy. People asking in the chat, is taking out Saliba for a hit worth it? I think it kind of depends because for lots of people that can unlock you 2 million quid, which you can. Like the only way, for example, I would take a hit for Saliba out would be to get Salah. So a straight hit. The answer is probably not worth it.
The answer is for a straight hit is definitely no. Like a defender for Gameweek 38, what are you going to need? You're going to need a clean sheet to just break even.
But if you have nothing on the bench, it's probably worth it, right? If you're guaranteed to be 2 points and your rank is not
pretty much everyone's got something on the bench.
Yeah, I mean, what would you? I guess what do people
like? I'd play
probably Munoz, I suppose.
I'd play Munoz before I took a hit. I'd play a Forest defender before I took a hit. I'd play an Everton
Wan-Bissaka?
defender.
Oh yeah, obviously Wan-Bissaka.
I'd play Wan-Bissaka before I took a hit. I'd play a Konza before I took a hit. I'd play a Brentford defender before I took a hit. I'd play a Wolves defender before I took a hit. Like, it's different because of the money.
If your rank's a little bit dodgy and you don't really care that much, like you may as well roll the dice for a Kirkez because Kirkez getting a 12 pointer wouldn't be too much of a shock, I don't think.
It's true. The only thing I would say is Bournemouth look a little bit weak defensively at the moment.
True, but it is Leicester without Vardy.
Yeah.
I think Leicester will just crash because they built up last week so much. And now Vardy's just jetted off and he's not even there. The whole thing's a bit like end of school vibes for Leicester, I think.
As FPL Victoria's Secret is asking, would I play Agbadu or take a hit for Saliba? I just play Agbadu. I don't expect much from him, but unless you need the money.
Where you are. If you're ranked like 220k, I don't really see why you wouldn't take a hit and have fun.
Yeah, fine. But from a logical point of view, I wouldn't do it.
No, if it was game week 14, I think probably not.
No.
Like if it was a normal circumstance.
Okay, Michael's saying if you've got Saliba, if you've also got Trippier, then okay, you might be in a position where you need to take a hit for it. But if you're in that specific case, yeah. But I'd rather buy a Newcastle defender than a Bournemouth defender this week.
Really?
I just think Everton are going to be like it's just like Leicester. They built it up so much last week that I think we're going to see similar. And I think Newcastle, I think there is that slight difference between a team with something to play for versus nothing to play for, that defensively, I think it makes a difference.
Yeah, that's fair. And share would be the
Share
money wise.
if they're playing a back five again, then Livramento's great. But if they're playing a back four, like without Branthwaite and Tarkowski, I really like the centre backs. Like if you've got Dan Burn this week, I think it's great. Like I wouldn't be surprised if one of those defenders hits a 15-pointer this week.
Yeah, not interesting.
But yeah, I have a feeling that, and I don't know if there's data to back it up, but if you've got something to play for, you're more likely to care about the clean sheet.
Yeah, there is definitely data about that, because when teams are going for the title, like they score less goals and it goes to 1-0s.
Yeah. Yeah. So I like Newcastle. They are top of the clean sheet projections this week. Although that being said, the graphic in the bottom right, I'm sure you may have seen by now watching elsewhere, that there are often more goals on the final day than over the course of the season, and there's often a battering over there somewhere.
It's always a 5-0 apparently.
Yeah, apparently. If you had to
Chelsea
predict
Forest.
a 5-0, I think Chelsea Forest would be bottom.
It would be 0-0. More likely to be 0-0. If I had to predict a 5-0, I mean, could you see Brighton beating Spurs 5-0 if it goes to extra time tonight?
If it goes to extra time tonight, maybe, but I still don't think they'd lose 5-0. I can't imagine that.
Didn't they lose 6-1 to Newcastle?
Imagine they lose the final tonight and then get beat 5-0 on Sunday.
I could see Brighton winning 3-0, but yeah, realistically, probably could Palace like crash like they did against Newcastle?
Yeah.
And Liverpool just have a party.
I think Bournemouth is the most likely 5-0 game.
It's a bit obvious though, isn't it?
Yeah, but I want to know.
Last year we had Palace Villa.
Yeah, but like some of the others, like City and Spurs against Norwich, they were obvious, right?
Yeah, true. Yeah, it's probably Bournemouth. I mean, according to the bookies, it's Bournemouth and Liverpool because they're projected the most goals.
Yeah. There are quotes now from Arteta on Saliba. So Saliba's going to be out for a few weeks, unfortunately. He pulled his hamstring against Newcastle, so he's going to be out for a few weeks. Timber had surgery yesterday on his ankles. He'll be out for a few weeks as well. I mean, may as well just say he's out for the season. Like, SN is out for a few weeks. It's not useful to anyone, but yeah. So if you've got Saliba, you'll be looking for a defender, but I still would prioritise attacking transfers, and that's what we see with the amount of goals we get, right? The attacking transfer is more important. Building a front seven that you're happy with is more important than a defender you're happy with, I would say.
Yeah, very true.
If you have specific players or transfers in the chat that you want us to talk about, please do fire away and we will have a look at them as well. There is going to be a lot of people looking at Arsenal for that game. As a Saka owner, I mean, I haven't seen loads to particularly make me feel confident about him, even if he does start. But it is the fixture that can guarantee, can get you points if you need it.
It's definitely not a bad thing. Against Southampton.
De Bruyne to Saka. Like, I'd rather do De Bruyne to Bowen if you don't own Bowen than Saka. And it's a little bit like what we spoke about earlier, that if we'd have to get news that Saka was starting for me to buy him now.
Yeah. He started 3 in a row.
Yeah, I think he will. But
I think he would.
Is it impossible that Ranieri starts?
No.
Yeah.
I mean, is he going to risk Havertz? Like, he's not going to start Havertz, surely.
What, game back? Maybe not.
I mean, but defenders, like, you're talking about Ben White quite a bit. You spoke about him last week as well.
Yeah, with Timber out.
For the upside, yeah.
He looked pretty attacking in the game against Newcastle as well. Had a couple of shots, so I quite like that. If you're replacing Saliba and you want to stay at Arsenal, Ben White would probably be the one I would go to. Calafiori.
Yeah, I think if your team, yeah.
But Calafiori is very attacking.
You want fullback, don't you?
Yeah, and he'll probably play centre back. That's what I was going to say.
I think if your team's perfect, I don't know what your team looks like, but you have Evan Nielsen, for example.
Yeah.
And you have nothing else to do. I think Saliba to Ben White is just a good, safe, but also high upside move, I think.
I think my ranking for defenders to buy this week, if you own an Arsenal defender anyway, then I'd go I mean, it does depend a little bit on what you already own. Like if you've already got a Newcastle defender, then I'd probably buy Ben White. Like I wouldn't double up on Newcastle, but if you own Raya, then I'd probably go share Ben White, Kirkes in that order.
Share Ben White Cook. Yeah. Who do you think is most likely for a clean sheet this week?
Newcastle.
Do you think it's Arsenal? Newcastle?
I think it's, yeah. I mean, I might be proved wrong, but yeah, I can't see that. Feels like a banker 2-0, 3-0 game.
Yeah, I probably agree with that.
Lots of questions in the chat about Alexander Isak. I mean, I will say it again. I would be shocked if he doesn't start. I fully am convinced, and I've fully convinced myself that he was rested as a precaution, knowing that they only needed one win, and that win should come at home against Everton, rather than risking him away at Arsenal and having the risk that he wouldn't then be available for the game at home to Everton. So I fully expect him to start. But if he doesn't start, again, it's a similar situation to Saka, right? If we get no news, right? Eddie Howe says we'll have to wait and see. Training photos, we don't really get anything. Like let's say there's no training photo of Isak. Then what do we do? Because we know what the Newcastle in the nose are like.
Orgy at the best of times.
Yeah. So if you don't get news, then what?
I think you probably have to keep, because it's very unlikely he's on the bench, right? You would say.
So I thought this, and then I don't know who I was listening to, and I apologize, I can't source them correctly. But because it's the last game of the season, is it not possible that he is on the bench? And let's say he's on the bench and it's 0-0 at 70 minutes, and then they take the risk with him because they need to win the game.
But if his injury is so small, as we all think it is, like, do we really think that's possible? Like, he's either going to be fit or he's not, I think.
I agree, but I do think, as opposed to not wanting to risk him throughout the course of the season, if it really came to it, even if it was like him not looking good, they might have to take a chance with him, but they'd only do it if they need it to. I think there's a slightly bigger chance of a cameo than...
Yeah, I guess. I mean, would you... So if we got no news and Hal said...
I mean, I'd start him.
We've got training today, we'll have to see. You wouldn't sell him?
No, I'd start him.
Have you seen the super chat that has Isak in
it? Isak, De Bruyne to Saka or Isak to Evan-Nilsson? I mean, a lot of that depends on some early team news, and I can't really... Like, if we got
no news, what would you do?
If I got no news on anything, I'd rather do De Bruyne to Saka.
Yeah.
I think Saka Isak is a better combination than KDB Evan-Nilsson.
Yeah, I think I agree with that.
But yeah, I think Evan-Nilsson is the one that people will go to.
Definitely. Especially linking to a question, Cunha appears to be... I mean, do we think Cunha gets a good buy?
Yeah.
You think he
starts? But I fully believed all the narratives this week, so... and De Bruyne nearly made them all come true as well, but unfortunately he missed.
So as Lennox asked, would you keep Cunha? Or is it too risky?
If you've got nothing else to do in your team, then sell him. But if you've got
it's
anything
a shame
else,
we can't buy him this week.
Yeah, I think... Well, I don't mind Strand Larsen as a pick, as a differential. Like, if we're saying everyone's going Evan-Nilsson, right, and we're trying to find forwards elsewhere, Havertz, if we got news he started, Wissa, if you want to play it a little bit safer because he's so highly owned. Outside of that, Strand Larsen.
Yeah, Strand Larsen and Welbeck.
Yeah, Strand Larsen, Welbeck. Watkins, if you can still get to it. I don't think it's awful. Although, hasn't he never scored against United? I think he's the only Premier League team he's never scored against, which bodes really well.
I mean, Delap on his last game. I mean, Jimenez, no.
Delap's minutes are dreadful.
Yeah, they are. But I would imagine he gets a good buy.
Yeah. Like, if we got news Fulkrug started... I'm just trying to come up with other forwards here, but I probably would go like Strand Larsen, Wissa, or the obvious thing to do would be to sell like your Palace midfielder and play a 3-5-2.
Yeah, that's probably best. I mean, Gakpo has scored in how many consecutive home games is it?
Yeah, I
Is it
don't mind
10?
Gakpo. Yeah.
Scored in 10 consecutive home games, and he was benched in 37. No, he wasn't. He started in 37, but
You know what's going to happen is they're going to start and they're going to sub Darwin on after 5 minutes because they're not allowed to start him, so they have to pay a fee. But they give him one last hurrah at Anfield before he goes.
shameless.
Yeah, give him 10 minutes. Gakpo goes down pretending to hold his leg, and then on comes Darwin Núñez.
Is Teller forward for Spurs?
I couldn't tell you.
I think you should do good. He's not. He's a midfielder. He's a midfielder. He's started 6 in a
Solanke?
row. He hasn't. I can't. I just don't think he's going to start.
Yeah, I mean it's Evan Nilsson, and if it's not Evan Nilsson, it's maybe Strand Larson.
Strand Larsen's is a fair punt. Is a fair punt.
If you did,
Visser,
if you knew Isak was out, would you buy Callum
Don't
Wilson?
say what. No.
Why not?
He looks so off it. He looks so off it. And would it shock you if Gordon went up front?
No.
I mean, even Osula, like he brought Osula on for half an hour. So
talking of Gordon, I really like Gordon as a punt if you need it in midfield.
there's a bit going around that say he deserves to be dropped. I don't know. I know you're in the Planet FPL Slack. I know, and they were saying that if they go back to the 4 at the back, it seems like on fairness he would be the player that dropped out.
Interesting.
But I guess we know that Howe loves Gordon.
I haven't followed this. I don't understand how 5 at the back means they have more wingers in the team. Like, how does that work?
Is Murphy not playing as a wing back?
He is. That's why.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah, I thought I was missing something there. What, and Livramento is playing
left wing back.
Yeah.
So if they play a back 5, I like Livramento, but if they don't, then I like the centre backs.
Yeah.
Midfielders, I think there are a lot of options. I think there are quite a lot. So you've got Bowen and you've got Saka if you don't own them. Only Saka if we get news he starts though. And Burma if you still don't own. But outside of that, let's start at Bournemouth. Cliver, 2 back-to-back 45 minutes. I think he's a major risk.
Wouldn't go there. I don't see why you'd want to go there.
If you want Bournemouth,
there's so many better options.
Let's say you wanted
Semenyo,
Bournemouth cover. Yeah. The minutes are
not him again.
Cook getting sent off is good for everyone's minutes, just because it's one less player in that midfield. But I don't think I'd buy Clivert now. I'd rather buy Semenyo, I think. I think it's pretty close, but...
Yeah, I would rather buy Semenyo. A double up with Evan Nielsen could be quite good, I suppose.
If I was on free hit, I'd do that this week, I think.
Yeah, Fulham City, I mean...
You're not doing it really, are you? Like, you're not buying De Bruyne now. Ipswich, West Ham, if you want to go Bowen.
And Ciso would be the Ipswich one.
Yeah.
I can see goals in that game.
Yeah. Tavernier is a differential. Yeah, don't hate it.
I think Diaz is good for Liverpool.
Yeah, definitely. Could you go Szoboszlai?
Yeah, could do. I mean...
He ticks along nicely.
Did he... Yeah, he does. Did he... So he started on the weekend, but deeper with Elliot.
Yes, he did.
So, I mean, I guess he could go back to number 10. Elliot could drop out, but Elliot scored, so...
With McAllister out, probably means he stays deeper, no?
Yeah, because, I mean, I don't think he'll drop Harvey Elliott, because he keeps saying that Harvey Elliott deserves to play. And
maybe Harvey Elliott gets the final one. And he always seems to return when he plays, so...
Could look at that. Goal and assist in 37.
United Villa? Probably
I mean,
not.
Rodgers is perfectly good.
But you're not going to buy him.
If he, I don't know, at your rank, you probably would. Like,
No.
if you're solidifying, he's like 60% owned.
Yeah, he's more. He's higher than that. Yeah, but I still think there's a 5 or 6 I'd rather buy than Rodgers this week.
No,
he's
fair
good
enough.
to play if you've got him, but yeah. Newcastle, I don't think Murphy's bad. I don't think Gordon's bad. I suppose there is a bit of a risk that they drop one of them, but...
I'm just a little bit nervous about if they go to 4 at the back, someone's got to drop out.
But it's not going to be Murphy, surely not.
Well, no, he rarely doesn't play Murphy.
Yeah, so I don't mind Murphy.
No.
But then you do run the risk that he plays a back 5 and he's at wing back.
Yeah, and you run the risk of a 60-minute sub.
One
as
name's
usual.
just on a team we've already discussed. If you need a cheap option, right, and you need a big differential, what do you think of Suchek? Just like
What are his minutes like? I mean, he's always like decent for a goal, but
he just loves a
off
goal.
on 57
Oh,
against Forest.
just like if I told you one random midfielder scored a 10-pointer this week, and I told you it was Suchek, I don't think anyone would be that surprised.
No, definitely not. I see. Yeah, could do worse if you're looking for a crazy punt.
Where
Chelsea Forest.
Newcastle first. Oh, we did Newcastle. Yeah, Chelsea Forest. I mean, no one's buying anyone from this game, surely. No,
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 but you could buy Neto. I think.
no. I'd
I
rather
think
buy
it's
Gibbs
reasonable
White.
to buy Neto. Yeah, fair. Okay.
I'd rather buy Gibbs White than realistically, no one's buying Forest or Chelsea
No,
players.
no one is. Really, what do you think we're going to do? Just quickly, do you think we'll go Tyreek George? Like, I
No,
was shocked that Lavia didn't start.
I had no offense to Tyreek George, but I don't. I hope it's not him.
Yeah, I mean, in hindsight, he was never going to get a kick against Maguire, was he?
Part of me's like, well, why don't we just play Lavia over George and just reshuffle it and just put all our best players on the pitch? But then it doesn't. We can't. There's not a real system that works.
What, put Neto? I mean, that would have to be like
Palmer
Palmer
false, no.
playing. Yeah.
But the
No, 'cause
issue
you
is
could.
when you've got no striker that works against the centre backs, why didn't you just not play one?
I mean, the flip side is Mark Guiu is training. Like, is that
Or
are we
Sancho
just
comes
better
in
playing a striker? Yeah, he could do.
and Neto goes up front.
I can't see Lavia not playing.
But then you've got to drop Reece,
Yeah, it's tricky.
which I think
Maybe Enzo. I'd probably drop Enzo. Yeah.
I would drop Enzo, but people don't agree with me on that.
There was a stage where he was on the bench, wasn't there, around Christmas?
Yeah, I just don't think he's going to do that in this game. It's Reece or
Lavia.
Lavia, yeah. And I think that's
And
quite
then
good for us.
obviously
That
Sancho
it's
could come in for George.
unpredictable what we're going to do
Yeah.
because that changes the way we play.
Do you think Tosin will stay? Because I'm guessing he played because of the height from
I think it will be either Tosin and Reece, or it will be Chalobah and Lavia.
That's interesting. I hadn't thought of that.
Because when we play, sorry, we're going on for Chelsea tangent. When we play Lavia, we don't play so much with a right back. So Chalobah works well because he can do both, but Tosin doesn't really do that job. But Tosin's good when we've got Reece next to him.
I just thought Tosin was playing because he is massive and Maguire is a threat.
Yeah, and maybe
He did let Maguire just slip behind him, but
maybe he'll go, oh, I want Tosin, so then Reece plays.
Yeah.
But I do think it works as a combination. Anyway, Southampton, Arsenal, I think there's differentials in that Arsenal midfield. But I don't think
if you can predict the minutes, you could come in gold. Like Trossard goal and assists. He seems to do that every other week when no one owns him. But
yeah,
I mean, Rice, he needs. Declan Rice has got 4 returns in 5 starts.
Like if Havertz isn't playing and Marino's up front, if Odegaard is starting, he's not been great, but it's a punt. If Martinelli is playing on that left wing, if you got news that Wanyeri was starting, there are so many. It's just not guaranteed that any of them start.
Martinelli started 6 in a row.
Surely they're not going to give Sterling a start.
He's coming back to us next week.
Anyone want him? We'll sell him cheap.
Go to Leeds or something.
If you had to pick one of those midfielders outside of Saka, because if I was punting one of them, I'd punt Saka, right?
Martinelli for me.
Yeah, I think I agree.
He started 8 of the last 9.
Yeah.
2 90 minutes in a row would probably be him.
Spurs, Brighton. I think you're looking at Brighton, really. Like, there's not many Spurs midfielders that you'd probably buy, unless Brennan Johnson doesn't start tonight, but you're probably looking at Brighton.
Probably Tell. It is probably Tell. He seems to be starting every league game up front, or some of them up front.
Yeah.
Does Spurs like winning, losing? How does winning or losing make you think about United and Spurs in 38?
I don't think it massively changes it.
Like, as a Chelsea fan who wants Villa not to win, what do you want United to do?
I think both teams will be full strength on Sunday. if I'm honest. It's their final home game. I think they'll be full strength regardless of whether they win or not. But I think I think I'd rather United lose from a motivation point of view.
Fair enough. I don't know about Spurs being full strength.
I mean, their full strength is not anything full strength, but I just think it's their final home game, and if they lose, they can't afford to lose that final home game.
But if they've won the trophy, I don't think it will matter in like that.
If Spurs lose tonight, they will go full strength on Sunday. Because there's no way they can lose this and lose that final home game. That would be
true. If they lose badly, if they lose on penalties and everyone's knackered, obviously it could be a bit different.
I don't think you're really buying Spurs players. I think if you wanted to punt, you're going Matoma or Minte, aren't you?
Would you punt Matoma?
I wouldn't.
I mean, it doesn't seem like he's in the team.
Well, this is why I wouldn't punt any of them, but I'm not a punty type of guy.
I guess Matoma is top, but it just got no confidence to even recommend that. Like, he's not even starting football matches.
Minte is starting, and he's only 4.8. Someone in the chat was talking about Minte. Yeah, Joseph.
Mohammed saying Chilwell has outscored Sterling in the Premier League.
I love it. And the final game, Wolves, Brentford. I think if you don't own Burma, he's a good pick. Outside of that,
any attacker in this game. Strand Larsen, Sharda, Visser, and Bumo.
Yeah.
People saying Gruder for Brighton.
Mm-hmm. He did look pretty good.
Got an assist. Yeah.
He got the assist for the first goal. But still like one start in the last 7.
No, I think we're probably just looking for something.
There's no way you're buying Gruder over, I don't know, like Semenyo, are you?
No,
don't think.
So to wrap up the midfielders then, like, who are you selling this week? Would you sell Sarr and Eze?
Yeah.
For free.
For free. I'm not sure I'd sell them for a hit though, because I do think there's goals in Palace, Liverpool.
I mean, yeah, Brighton just got 4.
So would I do Eze to Bowen for a -4? Probably not. Because that first Bowen return is then just like irrelevant. Before Eze does anything. Sarr, I'd maybe be slightly more inclined to, just because he does my head in. But like Sarr to Semenyo, would I do that for a hit? No. I'd do it for free, but I wouldn't do it for a hit.
Yeah.
The only case in which, like, so someone asked me this, would I do, I think it was Sarr to Saka and Isak to Evan Nilsson for a hit. And I was like, oh yeah, that looks like a good hit. But then when I break it down, I'm like, but the Sarr, like the Isak to, let's say Isak was out, right? Isak to Evan Nilsson, you can do regardless. So Sarr to Saka is then the hit.
And I don't think that's a bad hit, to be fair. I think if you're backing Saka and Arsenal, you're expecting big things.
Yeah.
And Liverpool are top of the clean sheet. No, they're not. They're 4th.
They're top for goals. Yeah.
I would be inclined to hit Sarr out, I think.
Would you sell De Bruyne for a hit?
Not for a hit.
For
unless
free?
It was Salah captain for defensive purposes.
Yeah, if you're captaining the player you're bringing in, I think it changes a little bit.
If you love Bowen and want to captain Bowen, I think you could do it.
Yeah. Yeah. So top midfielders to buy, I'd say Bowen probably 1, Saka 2 if we get news he starts. I'd then go...
I like Luis Diaz a lot.
I'd go Gordon, Semenyo, then Luis Diaz. No, I'd probably go Martinelli before Luis Diaz. Your list?
Bowen definitely top.
I suppose if we got news that Saka starts, he goes top, right?
Yeah, if we knew Saka was starting, he'd be top. So yeah, Saka, Bowen, Semenyo, Luis Diaz. I think are all good options. I think Diaz is actually a really good option.
Goalkeepers we've done, defenders we've done, Odegaard. I mean, I don't hate it just because the minutes should be there, but the performances just haven't been. I mean, he's got a return. He's got an assist in all of the last 5 games. But you need more than that in Game Week 38, don't you? It's not the worst because the minutes are more reliable than the others.
How have Martinelli and Trossard both played like the last 6 games?
Because one of them's been up front.
So Marino he's been suspended, hasn't he?
Yeah. Yeah, Trossard was playing in. He was playing in midfield, wasn't he?
Yes, because Rice was injured for a bit. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
There was a super chat about best triple captain.
I mean, whoever you're captaining and Salah.
Yeah, true. If you were free hitting, who would your captain be?
Salah.
And then Bowen. If you knew Saka started, would you want that?
Yeah. I think top 3 are.
I mean, Mbumo, like, what has Mbumo done
I think
wrong?
top 5 are Salah, Mbumo, Saka, Bowen, and then either Evan Nilsson or Isak, if Isak starts.
Yeah.
Just to have a look, though, because there is a little bit of questions about differentials, just to have a look at the most transferred in. Bowen feels like, well, to be fair, Bowen's not even a differential anymore, but last week, Watkins was a differential until the game updated and we realised he was 115% owned. So Isak and Saliba are the most transferred out. 225,000 transfers out already for Isak. That is a sight for my eyes, that is. I was very happy with that. Saliba, that's going to shoot through the roof. Only 70,000 for him. Salah, Chris Wood, De Bruyne, Marmoush, Fernandes. Robinson at Fulham has 40,000 transfers out. Munoz, Palmer, Mateta. Most transferred in are Bowen, Watkins, Evan Nilsson. This is what I mean. Like, Evan Nilsson and Saka are 2 of the top 4. But if that keeps on going, there might not be that big differentials. Then it's Wissa, Raya, Kirkes, Kukurea, Kivior, Wan-Bissaka, and Ben White.
Yeah. Salah on that out list makes me want to buy him even more, to be honest.
Like 50,000 people have already sold Salah. I think he's the best captain this week.
Yeah. Cucurella, we haven't talked about him. That, in hindsight, that 15-pointer against United was so obvious. Like,
I'm just going to say, I did have him in my defenders to buy this week, but...
Well, there you go. How is he getting headers in the box? He's tiny.
Because no one picks him up. He's just in that gap.
Do you think he's okay to buy?
No. There's no way you're buying Kukurea over like Kirkes, are you really?
He's the most attacking defender.
Yeah.
Or one of them.
No.
If we were at home, I reckon people would.
I agree,
like but we're not. Wan-Bissaka, we also haven't mentioned him. He's I think he's quite a good defender to buy this week.
Yeah.
Playing a wing back.
Yeah. Against Ipswich, don't mind. Yeah, I think it's a good pick as well. But it's just worth knowing that if you're looking for a differential and you're buying Evan Nilsson and Saka and we get to the deadline and we know Saka's starting, it's going to be a bit like Watkins. Maybe not to the same level, but...
Yeah, I think he's not going to be captained. I think Evan Nilsson will depend on your rank because in the wider game, he's really low owned.
Yeah, I don't think that either of them will get that high.
Probably 50, 60% top 100k.
Yeah, like Bowen is not a differential.
Only he was 35% in the 100k this week.
He was 60%. Oh, no, he wasn't. He was 35. That was Rodgers. He was like 70%.
Yeah.
Can everyone stop buying Bowen and stop captaining him because it's scaring me?
You'll do that and then you'll solidify your top 5k when like Cher scores a bullet header.
No, I can't buy both Bowen and Cher. I can only buy one of them. Right, let's look at our teams to wrap it off. Do you want to go first?
Yeah. So this team looks a little bit weaker because obviously I haven't got any transfers. I've got 2 free transfers. Just waiting for it to come up. Yeah, so I'm currently on Raya, Saliba, Wan-Bissaka, Gvardiol, Bumo, Bowen captain, Palmer, Rodgers, Visser, Haaland, and Mateta, with Sarr, Bradley, Munoz on the bench.
Yep.
I've got 2 frees. So the initial plan was Palmer to Saka to captain and Mateta to Evan Nilsson. Mateta to Evan Nilsson, I'm going to do regardless of anything. So you can consider that done.
Yeah.
And then it's a question now whether I take a hit for Palmer to Salah, captain, and then Saliba could go down to anyone. Kirkez and under. I can't afford share, so it would have to be Kirkez, Burn, or I mean, yeah, Kirkez or Burn probably,
We might get
or
Liverpool news.
Kivior or Kivior.
Yeah. We might get Liverpool news before the deadline. And that could
In
make
terms
up
of
your
what?
mind. Or Bradley.
Playing Bradley, but then I can't get Salah. I'd have to get Saka. The only reason I'm hitting Saliba is to afford Palmer to Salah.
What I would say, though, if you're chasing, right?
I'm 12 points off top 100k.
If you're chasing and Bradley starts, you could back against Gavardio.
Yeah, because he is 80%, but he was at left back last night, and him at left back is terrifying prospect.
Yeah, it is. It is. I get that.
But no, that's a fair point. Maybe I need to look at the chasing, but the more it goes on, the more inclined I am to captain Salah. But it means a hit for Saliba out.
The chat seems to be Nikolai thinks that Bradley will start.
Yeah, but it could be a sub. But then I don't even think they'll keep a clean sheet. So
if Trent doesn't start, do you think he gets minutes? Do you think they just leave him on the bench?
It seems a bit mean, but also like the stadium might just go like ballistic.
This is it. Like, does Arnie Slot really want to annoy them anymore?
He does seem to be quite on the fan side in terms of like he's always said they can think what they want, and
yeah,
obviously Trent doesn't mean as much to him as like he obviously does to Klopp. So
yeah, if it was Klopp, he'd definitely be playing, I think.
Yeah. So how much do you think? I don't know. It's just Salah. Like, what do you think Salah's EO will be? Do you think like I'll get gains? Like, would it be like 120%?
No,
or do you think it'll be a bit higher?
But
if I think he's the best player,
I think it'll be 130. I think Mbermo will be like 105 maybe.
What would you do to chase the top 100k in my team?
How much have you got?
Haaland?
How much have you got if you do Mateta to Evan Nilsson?
Mateta to Evan Nilsson. It gives me 2 million in the bank. So it has to be Palmer to Saka. Like,
and if you downgrade Saliba to Burn, can you still not do like Sata? You're still nowhere near.
So we're taking a hit.
So if you do Saliba, let's say you do Saliba to Burn, Mateta to Evan Nilsson.
I've got 4 million in the bank, so I can't even get to Saka from Sar.
That's rough.
Could I sell Haaland to?
You're racking up hits to sell Haaland though.
No, but I mean, I could do 2 transfers like Haaland to Evan Nilsson, and then upgrade Sar to bench Mateta.
Yeah, you could do that.
What does that get me? That gets me.
I might get you Salah.
Sar to Salah. It does do that.
I'm not sure I'd be looking at
that would mean I'd still have Palmer.
Yeah.
But then I'd have to play Munoz or Bradley. But there's no hit. And I guess Palmer, he is a big differential. He could score.
Yeah.
But then so's Haaland, so
yeah.
That's interesting. I could do that. I could get Salah for free by selling Haaland. I don't.
But then Haaland's a big differential as well.
He is. He doesn't look great, does he? Like,
No.
Interesting. I guess it's like, do I just go for that 15-point defender with Kirkez or Share or Burn? Sorry.
As Tyler says, like captaining Salah is probably not going to get you top 10k.
True, but if Palmer, yeah, I probably won't. But then, do I have to buy him? Like, do you think I should just? I guess if we know that Saka's playing, I could get Saka captain, and then I'd have Haaland and captain Saka.
Yeah, I think if we get news that if all you care about is top 10k,
if I come 160k, I'm not really that bothered.
Then I think you don't buy Salah, and I think you buy Saka if he starts and you captain him. and you go Palmer, Haaland, Saka, captain, and you use that as your differential.
I don't think I can. I can't keep all three of those.
Oh.
I'd have to hit out Saliba to someone really cheap. I'd have to upgrade Palmer to Saka. But yeah, maybe I don't buy Salah. I'll have to think about it. If it was like 5 points, maybe, but 12 points is quite a lot. Anyway, yeah.
I've got Raya in goal, Gvardiol, Munoz, Konza, De Bruyne, and Burmo, Saka, Salah, Cap, Watkins, Wissa, Evan Nilsson. So I suppose the positives at the moment are that I've got Saka and Evan Nilsson in my team from the hit in game week 36. As long as they both start, that's a positive. If one of them doesn't start, then it has definitely not worked out. One transfer. I had 5 rank threats going into this week. I'm playing really defensively, and I apologise if that's boring, but it's just the way my final few weeks are going. 5 rank threats. One was Arsenal defence, and without Saliba, it's probably not going to be high enough for me to worry about it. Like, it's probably going to be 120, 130, unless all the Saliba owners go to Ben White, which I don't think will probably happen. There'll be enough that just bench him. There'll be some which sell him to something else. So that was one of them, which leaves me with 4 rank threats of Newcastle defence, Isak, Rodgers, and Bowen, and I can effectively cover one of them. So if De Bruyne doesn't start, I'll do De Bruyne to Bowen. If De Bruyne does start, I'll probably do Munoz to Fabian Schär.
Is the Newcastle defence that highly owned?
Yeah, it's like 60%.
I didn't know that. So Munoz to Shah. So you'd rather play Konsa than Munoz, the attacking threat of Munoz?
The attacking threat of Ezri Konsa. I just think they've been great. I just think Liverpool score.
No, that's probably fair.
The Newcastle defence, there is 7% Pope, 30% Livramento, 15% Burn. There's a little bit of Trippier. So what's that, like 50%?
So a clean sheet hits you by 3. Yeah. Is there any scope, if you knew everyone was playing, were you not tempted to do De Bruyne to Bowen regardless?
Yes, I am. And even if we got no news on De Bruyne, I still am tempted to do it.
I'm guessing, obviously, if Saka was benched, you'd just get Bowen in for Saka.
Well, yeah. If any of my midfielders got benched, I'd buy Bowen for them. If any of my forwards got benched,
what if they were both benched, Saka and De Bruyne?
I'd buy Bowen and play Sar. I think
I'd buy
Bowen for one of them.
Oh, before you said Burn, yeah.
And I'd just play Sar. I think.
Yeah,
I'm not taking a hit for anyone else in that midfield. I don't think. And if I buy Bowen, I'm not taking a hit for a defender, I don't think. I don't think it's...
No, I think Munoz and Konsa are, like... Again, a Munoz goal would not be overly shocking.
Yeah, or if he just gets an assist. I don't think it's completely out of the question. I would rather a share, of course, but I think I'm going to bench Double Forest. I
was about to say, if you were looking at like review or analytics,
they would tell me to play.
They'd
tell me to play Milenkovic, yeah. But there is
our
that
away form is terrible.
There is that Chelsea fan in me that I just don't want any involvement in that game. I don't want a Forest defender in my FPL team this weekend.
Yeah, we're on TV as well, obviously.
Yeah. I want this game week as a Chelsea fan to be 9 games plus Chelsea Forest.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I'm at. They're destined to return now. Just like when I cursed them last week and I tweeted that they were rooted to my bench and were never going to come off it. And then they both basically both returned. But anyway.
I saw Williams get 2 bonus off 8 tackles. Quite impressive.
So, yeah, like, it'll be waiting for team news. Like, what's a better combination? Bowen, Munoz, or De Bruyne, Schär?
Say that again. Bowen, De Bruyne.
Bowen, Munoz, or De Bruyne, Schär?
Bowen, Munoz, De Bruyne, Schär. It's got to be De Bruyne and Schär.
Yeah.
That's 2 good fixtures.
Yeah.
Munoz is great, but he's not that good.
Yeah, I think that's the same. I think I agree.
And seem very convinced on that Newcastle defense.
Mm.
So how many points are you inside the top 10k?
13.
Yeah, you'd have to have an absolute shocker to drop out
Yeah,
of that.
but I've just got it in my mind that I had an absolute shocker last week on the final day, and it was Isak who did it to me. And it's going to be Isak again.
But even if Isak gets a hat trick, you've still got three good strikers.
It would need Bowen and Isak to both double return.
And
Which
even
is
then,
possible.
De Bruyne might get a double
Well,
return.
exactly. And it would need Saka, De Bruyne, Evan Nilsson to all blank. So I think it's unlikely, but if I could if De Bruyne's bench and I just cover Bowen, I think that's fine.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's where I'm at.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at. I would say that the analytical models would tell me to play my Forest defender over Munoz, but I just don't think I'm going to do that.
Even if someone's benched and you don't buy a defender.
Still think I'd play Munoz over Forest.
I think that's perfectly legit. I mean, Liverpool's defensive numbers are really bad. Someone's saying we missed a super chat.
Yes. You can do Vardy to Evan Nilsson, but then I have to bench one of Salah, De Bruyne, and Burmo, Rodgers. I don't need to.
Yeah, I think Evan Nilsson is better than Rodgers this week. If that's your only transfer, if you're happy, if the rest of your team's fine, I think Evan Nilsson is an upgrade on Rodgers.
Yeah, I would say so. If out of that list, it has to be Rodgers.
Yeah.
Palmer to finally step up and secure for Champions League football. Let's hope so. Mateta to Evan Nilsson for a -4.
I'd do that. I think Van Dijk will be back.
Well, he was on the bench, so he's definitely back. Mateta to Evan Nilsson for a hit.
And Mateta will come off after 60 anyway, so.
I hate that, though.
I guess it's rank dependent, I suppose.
I probably
But you could argue it's safer because Evan Nilsson, if you think he's going to get to 60%.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Any other final questions before we wrap up our final season episode of Burning Questions? We will be back probably on Monday, hopefully with Andy as well, for a season
assistant
review.
Manager.
Wolves. Table bonus home to Brentford.
Do they have table bonus today?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good, yeah.
The other one is Spurs have table bonus home to Brighton.
And United.
United have table bonus. There are some good table bonus managers.
Fulham have table bonus. That's interesting. Fulham do.
No. Marco Silva is predicted the lowest assistant manager this week. Vitor Pereira is predicted the highest at home to Brentford. Then it is Ange Postecoglou. Then it's Eddie Howe, Iraola, Arteta, Slot, Guardiola. Then Amorim. And then some of the others there as well. I probably would punt. I mean, it depends a little bit, right? If you're chasing, you go Pereira or you go Ange with their table bonus games. If you're not chasing, you just go boring and you go like Iraola and to Leicester.
Yeah, makes sense.
Captaincy.
Irrespective of chasing and ranks and points and everything, first up for me is Salah, and then Saka if he starts. If not, then Bowen and Boomer would come ahead of Saka for me.
Yeah, I like that.
And I think maybe I should just captain Haaland and just go for it.
Mm.
But even then, like, he needs 2 goals and he hasn't scored in ages.
Yeah, I wouldn't captain Haaland.
Final question then. Who do you think is the biggest, highest profile player likely to be benched this week?
Highest profile player that's likely to be benched? Probably Saka.
There's probably going to be a shock, isn't there? Somewhere. I mean, in the template, maybe. I guess in the template, it's probably De Bruyne.
Yeah, I would say I own both of them. Great. Great. It's gone really well. Yeah, I think it has to be them. Marmoush played well. I think City won't. I think City will probably line up the same.
Yeah.
Which I don't think is bad for De Bruyne because I thought he looked pretty good.
And a crazy youth player that's going to start and get points.
David Brooks.
Yeah, nice.
It's not a youth player, but
out of nowhere, yeah, you could see that actually.
I don't know where else we'd look. Yeah,
I mean, you could see like Brighton or Spurs play like Mikey Moore or something.
Ethan Wanyeri.
Yeah. That United striker, Obi, probably could start.
Mikel Merino playing up front. Yeah, there's a few. Would I do Isak to Evanilson if you have no other moves?
I don't mind that, to be fair. If you think you've got the perfect team.
I wouldn't. I don't think. But I think Isak starts, so.
Yeah, we'll have to see about that.
We'll be back on Monday and I'll say, I told you so. Or you'll say, Harry.
When you're ranked 11k and he scored 4.
Yeah, he scored an Isak hat-trick. Great. I won't be turning
There's
up.
no way you can get... If we knew he was playing...
I'd have to sell one.
There's no way you can buy him. You wouldn't do that.
I'd have to sell one of my forwards.
Yeah. It's probably, even if you knew Saka, De Bruyne and Isak were all starting, it's still probably Munoz to Burn is better than Watkins to Isak.
Yeah, because Watkins would then be my threat. It's like 50% owned.
Yeah, you can't have them all.
Yeah, like his ownership this week was what? Let me have a look. Can't see. 65% ownership. It's actually higher than Isak's.
Yeah, fair enough.
Who dropped to 63. But yeah, that is all. We'll hopefully be back on Monday. Thank you very much, Tom. What a season.
Yeah, great. Thank you very much for the streams and everything. It's been great fun doing these every Wednesday. I'm not sure it's helped my rank. I'm doing worse than last year, but it's been good to watch you up close, at least. Maybe I should have just copied you, but anyway.
No, I've enjoyed it.
And hopefully Forest
lose.
Buckle under the pressure.
Yeah. And hopefully we have Andy back on Monday as well. That's the plan. Yeah. So I hope you've all enjoyed Burning Questions this season. Thank you all very much for the kind words and support. And yeah, good luck in Game Week 38.
Best of luck.